Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Akibatun lil mustaqim. Wala warwana ila ala dalimeen. Innani othe subhanahu wa ta'ala amtanani wa shukri. Muhammadin huwa sayyidina makbubana. Innahu kana nabiyan rasul. My dear brothers and sisters, thank you for showing up today. We have another episode here on the intentions of the Muslim. This is an important aspect of the intentions when we deal with travel, because we have a lot of misinformation on that subject, and we have a lot of Muslims doing a lot of variety of things without taking into consideration what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has said about our travels and what our Prophet ﷺ has said about our travels. And so you see many on YouTube, you'll see, a variety of things in Facebook. You see many different things, and you'll see Muslims traveling everywhere, doing all kinds of things, irrespective of what the Sharia has said about this issue. And so I want to delve in this because it is important, because we will be held responsible for our travels and for our migrations and so forth and so on. We'll be held responsible for it. And so luckily, I'm gonna try to shed light into this to help each one of us. We all learn from it, and then we can guide ourselves on when we want to make travel. Now, we're not talking about traveling inside your Muslim state. We're not talking about that. This is a lot going from the Muslim. He's leaving his Muslim state to go into the non-Muslim states. Is what we're basically kind of talking about here. So let me give you my proper greetings to the brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Lil ikwani wa akhwati. Wassalamu ala mani taba huda. Lil ikwani wa akhwati fi Afrika, Europa, America, Asia, wa Caribbean, wa kulli makan. Halan salim bikum. Okay, my brothers and sisters, we will start in this. I was trying to look at something here. Okay, now I got it. Because when it gets down to computers, brothers and sisters, I'm a dunce in this issue. So we get started here. The pursuit of something. There are 10 critical aspects to this. And you remember last week we talked about the flight from something. And we talked about when the Muslim brother and sister decides to leave, say, United States, or leave France or Britain to go into a Muslim state. And we gave conditions about such a thing and about other issues in that. Here now we're in pursuit of something. That something in this regard has to do with a travel of some sort, a long distance travel, basically, or a long stay in some particular country that's not Muslim. And so there's critical aspects, because again, brothers and sisters, we Muslims, we are guided by our intentions. We are judged by what's in our heart. And that's where it's going to be Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will judge us inshallah inshallah about that. He will judge us according to our intentions, because he knows what's in our heart. And so, but our intentions have to be always sincere and truthful. So if you decide that you want to go from Morocco, say, into the United States, and you have to have a purpose for this, and there's conditions for you to do this. We have forgotten about that. Many have not even studied their regard. One thing they know is their whims, their desires. Say, hey, look, I want to go I want to leave Morocco, I want to leave Algeria or Egypt, and I want to travel to the United States because I want to go see the Lakers play, or I want to go and do this, or I want to go do that. And there is criteria to this, and we should examine that. Again, this is for the Muslim who is trying to seek knowledge, well-rounded knowledge, because this is what we're supposed to do. Because if you don't seek the knowledge, the hereafter, you'll be judged for it, because there's a There's 10 Nawakid al Islam, and number 10 deals with this issue of not gaining knowledge. In today's world, we don't have a lot of our scholars available for us, but we have a lot of information out there, and we do have a lot of brilliant brothers and sisters, even in the United States, who can teach and who do have things on YouTube that you can learn from, all the way from learning Arabic to how to make salat, Sharia courses. There's a lot. And so now you have all the vehicles at your disposal from the privacy of your own home or your car or in your phone. And so you should be able to gain this knowledge and get this knowledge because it's very important. And we all want to travel. We all want to leave to do something. We all want to go from California to Bermuda. Or we want to go to Trinidad. We want to go visit Jamaica. Or we want to go to Brazil. As a Muslim, we have special criteria. We're not like everybody else. We have to safeguard certain principles. So the pursuit of something, there are 10 critical conditions to this, brothers and sisters. And this part of the intention of Nia is part of a journey or travel, as I was talking about, best described as Parajdin. This intention is gained a specific objective where travel is involved. And again, this is something where most of us are doing. Now, we all know what's going on about the boats. You see them leaving North Africa in particular. They're coming from Muslim states a lot. And they're leaving to come to North Africa. Then North Africa, they're taking boats to go into Italy and to the southern, Europe. But we also know too now that our fellow Africans are now even arriving in South America. I saw a special here the other day about them even arriving there. We know now they're even reaching Mexico. We know they're on the Mexican border now, and some of them are Muslims. And so we have this travel, and we have to ask the question, is their travel legitimate? Is it according to the Sharia? And what does Subhanahu wa ta'ala feels about this? What does our Prophet ﷺ feels about this? What our favorite scholars say about this? What happened when the Sahaba asked questions in reference to this? See, there's a lot of issues here that we have to look at, because as Muslims, we must look at this. We're not like everybody else. We have laws and we have rules that we have to abide by. So this is something here, a intention to where travel is involved. And now we have all the means of travel. We have the airplane, the modern technology. We have airplane now. We can do this. In some places, you can take a car from a Muslim part of the country to a non-Muslim part, and you can do this by car, but it's still considered a travel. In order to get it, it can be rewarding, but also dangerous to our faith. This is one of the criteria, brothers and sisters, that we always have to give reference to. What is our actions in reference to how it's going to affect our worship and our iman? This is always paramount in everything we do. So our intentions must be sincere and truthful. And then the action that we're going to take from it has to be in accordance to that worship and dealing with the Hudud Allah, meaning the Sharia Allah, and then with the Sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ and his Sharia. So this is important. And we go to the next one here. The Muslim who seeks it must be grounded and firmly committed to the Sharia Allah Ta'ala and the Sunnah Nabi. This, alayhi salatu wasalam. And this is this important aspect here. Because we have Muslims now, and I gave the example already a couple of times. I don't want to beat this into the ground a lot, but this is a simple fact. We do have a lot of Muslims who have traveled and landed into the United States. And we have, because of their tenuous situation, even in Muslim states, many were marginal Muslims. Many were not even practicing Muslims in their Muslim states. When they come over to the United States, they run into African Americans, and either some Afro-Arabs as well, and they have disagreements. And those who arrive into the Americas, in particular the United States, they begin to develop a discriminatory attitude and actions towards the black man and his family, and also against many other Afro-Arabs. Because there's Moroccans, Afro-Arabs who are discriminated against by these same people. And see, remember last week I gave a class talking about the genesis of this type of person, given the what we call the Arabi, what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has talked about in the Quran, and how treachery and so forth that laid down by these inside the Quran, and what they did tried to do to the early Khalifa. So now we have them coming into the United States, and we've had disagreements with them, and we don't understand when we see many of them look like us, some lighter complected, some have less curly hair, but some are curly haired, and then we see them doing what they do to us in their stores and so forth. It causes confusion. So here, when the Muslim does travel, he has to be grounded and firmly committed to the Sharia Allah, Ta'ala, and the Sunnah Nabi. This is the practicing Muslim. If he decides now that he has to leave Morocco, or yes, he has to be grounded firmly in Islam. He has to be grounded in the Sharia Allah Ta'ala and the Sunnah Nabi, alayhi salatu salam. He has to be, because without this insurance, without this care, without this protection, you see what has happened. And I'll get into one of our favorite modern day Sheikh Islams who now passed away. He gave a stinging fatwa in reference to this. And I'll get into this, inshallah ta'ala, about this. But I want to talk about this, brothers and sisters, because I see a lot of traffic on YouTube. I see African Americans, Muslims, some Arabs, Afro-Arabs too, talking about travels. And those travels are not in accordance to what we're talking about here. So I want to know where they get their dalil, where they get their proof, where they get their proof for this. Because I'm curious. Now, we do have disputes, and I'll get into that. We have some disputes from our scholars in reference to the livelihood, going to certain places, what we can do in those certain places. We do have these debates. And so as long as our Ulema Fuqaha have debates in certain issues, we can't make judgments from it, because there's issues that they themselves have with certain things, and they are in disagreement of it. So we have to play in the middle and wait and see what judgment comes down from them. But the criteria, brothers and sisters, is that the Muslim must be grounded firmly in his faith. He's got to be. His iman has to be impeccable. It has to be strong, because what he's going to encounter in France, what he's going to encounter in Norway, in Belgium, or the Netherlands, or in LA, California, see, or in Louisiana or Mississippi, is going to be well beyond what he imagined. Even though he may look at TV, but now he's going to be on the ground, and he's going to find nakedness. He's going to find homosexuality. He's going to see robbery, murder, mayhem. Everything is out in the open. He's going to see sexual conduct out in the public. He's going to see discrimination and so forth and so on. All of this is going to hit him. And then he's going to go into this his workplace, where now he traveled from Morocco, he traveled from Algeria or from Sudan, and now he's got a job sitting there in LA, California. Now he's the only Muslim inside working in this place. This is what I'm talking about. And we have to talk about these issues so we can help one another in them. Okay, the travel for didactic purposes, meaning here, the sincere and truthful intentions to teach. One of the conditions that you can travel, brothers and sisters, is the Muslim who's going to teach. Now, we have a lot of brilliant Muslims, sisters too, PhDs, doctors, geography, mathematics, you name it. We have all realms of all of the sciences. We have brilliant scientists who have now come forth in the forefront, because of when we had the wabah, the virus, excuse me, the virus, when we had virus going, we had now Muslim scientists came to the forefront, and we did not know. And you had to think about this. Here's these Muslims from Algeria, they're from Morocco. How did they make it into Europe? How did they make it in America? And so forth and so on. You see what I mean? So we have the right, and we have this aspect that we must be sincere and truthful in our intention. And that intention is to teach, particularly, and the emphasis on moral instructions. Now, you see what I mean? We are Muslims. We are Muslims. We are guided by the Sharia Allah Ta'ala. We must If we're going to teach, we must be under the hudud of Allah, meaning under his limits, if we're going to do teaching. And we have to be in the right circumstances to teach. I'll give you an example what I'm talking about, and I'll cover this. Say we have a Muslim brother. He left, say, we'll say the Gambia, and he's got a job. He's going to get paid 4 times, 5 times more money than if he worked in Gambia. He comes into the university. He sees things he didn't ask for. He come into the classroom. He see half naked women with their legs open right in front of him. There, in front of him, you know, from his pulpit or whatever. He stands there. I forgot what they call that, where the professor talks from. And he's going to witness other things that he didn't bargain for. And this is what we're talking about. And you have a situation here where this brother will be in trouble, because, you know, we have under hudud of law, we can look at a woman one time or some person one time, but the second time is sinful. Third time it's in a dangerous situation. This is what we're talking about, brothers and sisters, why this is important. Teaching in distant lands where the Sharia Allah, Ta'ala, and the Sunnah Nabi, alayhi is promoted. Now, if you're going to California and you got a teaching job at a madrasa, this is okay, this is approved. But if you got a teaching job at UCLA, it's not approved, brothers and sisters, unless it is in Islamic studies. Islamic studies is where you can promote subhanahu wa ta'ala, his deen, and you can promote the Sunnah or Prophet. You can't do that from mathematics. If you teach geography, you cannot. If you go to an Islamic class, you have a better chance of being in a moral situation where you can kind of, because you have Muslims in it and you have non-Muslims who are interested, and you can kind of set some guidelines. But when you're you go in there to teach mathematics or algebra, or you're going to teach some other type of thing, you have no control. You are not talking about the Sharia Allah. You're not promoting it, and you cannot do this. This is the general term that has been set by our ulama fuqaha. You just cannot do it, brothers and sisters. You just cannot. The emphasis here, example would be the Muslim teaching Islamic studies, as I said, or the Muslim is the imam. Now he can travel. Now we have brilliant Muslims leaving Muslim states, going into United States to be the imam of a masjid. This is approved because he's promoting the Sunnah of Allah and his Sharia. And promoting the Prophet and his Sunnah and his Sharia. This is okay, no problem. He can do that. Or he come in there for a seminar. This is okay. He's going there to promote the worship of Allah Ta'ala and to promote the deen of Allah. You're okay. But if he's going there to a regular seminar where you're talking about things that has nothing to do with subhanahu wa ta'ala, there they will probably have wine. You'll have all type of mixing going on. And here's where we have Muslims who get in trouble, who have come forward and said that they had sinned, and they were so remorseful. They shouldn't have talked about it, but they were so remorseful. They talked about going to places like this, and they ran into a woman and things happened. See, so we want to guard against this. This is why we have these examples, and why we have these rules to protect each one of us if we do decide to travel, and when we travel, and why we travel, and what's allowed when we do travel. However, to go to the land of disbelievers to teach non-Islamic disciplines is not authorized. It's not authorized, brothers and sisters. It is not. Moreover, a Muslim who teaches mathematics can accept job offers. He can, no problem. If he's going to accept job offers. Now, here's the part to this. Unless the said disciplines are being taught in Islamic school, in a madrasa, in the land of disbelievers, it's not approved. And it's not approved, brothers and sisters. It's not approved. So you got a job offer from, say, Islamic schools in Chicago, Illinois. And they said, look, hey, I want to hire you, brother. We know that you speak Arabic and you speak English. We'd like to have you in our curriculum and to teach North African history, say, for instance. And you also have a mathematics background, so you come to teach. This is approved, brothers and sisters. I'm going to an Islamic school. This is where Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's name is still remembered. We'll have prayer and everything going on. When you go to a non-Islamic school, who's going to accommodate your prayer when your director of your particular field, mathematics, tell you you have a class that you have to be there at 1 o'clock? You know, sitting in LA, that Salat al-Door is at 1 o'clock. What are you going to do? Then he set you a schedule for 3:30, from 3:30 say to 5:30. You know, in between there's Salat al-Asr. What are you going to do? You can't go and leave out of your class with your instructions and go leave your class for 10 minutes to go make your prayer. Most of the schools won't accept this. You see what I'm talking about, the difficulties. And we talk about Muslims who have done this, and now they go home and they have to write to scholars and student knowledge, ask them, hey, can I combine all of these prayers? Some of them are 3 prayers. And ask, can I combine them all when I get home? Because there's no masjid for them to pray in. This is the difficulties. Now, here's the thing that we find out that many of our brothers and sisters are involved in, when their niyyah was wrong from the beginning, and it will surface once they reach to the non-Muslim lands. Here's this here. However, this is not an excuse to mingle and associate with disbelievers. We have Muslims who have been practicing their faith, but harbor certain things about disbelievers because they watch TV. They have certain desires. They say, look, I want to go to California. I have money, a lot of money here, say in Morocco. I want to go to LA. I want to live in this area because I saw it on TV. This is his real intention. So he gets the job and he says, okay, you know what? This is interesting. I like that. I want to go and I'm going to do this. And plus on the way, I want to be able to see certain ladies and so forth and so on. We have Muslims doing this, brothers and sisters. And they use this vehicle to travel for this purpose. And it's haram. And it loosens the strict Islamic codes and etiquette, which violates the Sharia. It's a severe violation, brothers and sisters. And we've had our Muslims turned around because of it. So I gave you these conditions quickly, and you can go back over this, inshallah ta'ala, and you can look at this. And you can kind of ask questions about it. And you can write, if you want, or you can write anybody and ask them about this. I do know that there are brilliant brothers and sisters who are now authorizing brothers to travel anywhere they want without giving them any preconditions or anything. Say, hey, look, man, you want to go to France? You want to look at the Eiffel Tower? We get into that. Or you want to go over here and do this? Or you want to go to these places here because they have all of these restaurants and nightclubs? And we have so-called imams and scholars in the Western world giving authorization for Muslims to do that. And Muslims say, hey man, I got this from Yahya over in Texas. He told me I can go to France and stay in France and look and go and worship, not worship, but take pictures of Eiffel Tower and do this and that. We have to be very careful of that, brothers and sisters. If you're not certain of something, be very mindful of this. Check before you go so you don't get in trouble for it. Now, the second condition of the 10, I'm going to go over 4 only because we have some that we have to go deep into. Because what has happened now, brothers and sisters, we talk about the hijrah. And many times I've talked about this. I didn't get deep into it because I was in the wrong platform for it and wasn't the time for it. But this is my show here. I'm going to get deep into it because I want to give the ins and outs to our brothers and sisters so they understand their role when they do decide to travel, because it's very, very, very tenuous, especially in today where all the fitna and trials and tribulations, brothers and sisters, it's a lot. The second condition is a travel for pilgrimage, the Hajj. That's self-explanatory. It's approved. I don't care where you live. If you live in Brazil and you're a Muslim travel, this is approved avenue of travel because you're going there to do as one of the pillars of Islam. This is self-explanatory. Everybody knows what that is. Everybody understands this is a pillar. Everybody knows it's a requirement of every Muslim, if he's able to do it, to go there and so forth. And excuse me, brothers and sisters, there's something that I wanted to check here. let's see what's happened here. I just got word. Okay, yeah, okay. I got word on something here. Okay. So anyway, that's number 2. Now we go to number 3. And here's where we have some sticklers, brothers and sisters. Travel for jihad. This is the one of the pursuit of something. The travel for jihad. Jihad, here's Arabic, jihad fi sabili Allah ta'ala. This is such a critical issue because we've had Muslims who have died in violation of this in the West and also from Muslim lands. So we should talk about this, especially for our aspiring young men who are eager and gun-ho. We understand you want to defend the Ummah. You want to fight against the enemies of Islam who are fighting in the Muslim states. We understand that, but there's conditions to it, brothers and sisters, that you must adhere to. If you don't adhere to it, it could ruin your jihad. If you're killed, there's things to this as well. So we have to be very careful with this. Many conditions must be met first prior to carrying out such endeavors. You're sitting in the United States, and you see what's happening in Syria. You see what's happening in Yemen. You saw what was happening, say, in Iraq. And you decide, hey, hey man, I want to go jihad, and I want to go join one of those groups. And I think I'm okay. I'm all right doing it. I have nothing going on here, in LA or Texas. I have nothing going on here, so I'm going to go ahead and feel my right to jihad, to go and to fight with the brothers. On the surface, this is a noble gesture. But what about the conditions? Did you meet these conditions? And even before we get that, did you cleanse yourself first? Did you get any knowledge first before you go to journey, brothers and sisters, especially those in the West and even in Muslim lands? We have a lot of Muslims that travel without knowledge. They don't even know. And many just now picked up the Quran and start to read it. And here they talk about go to run to make jihad, to go fight somewhere without even any knowledge. This is a deadly, deadly combination, and we see many have lost their lives because of it. I'm talking about it today because it's a serious issue, brothers and sisters, nothing to play with. Travel for jihad is nothing to play with. Irrespective of the Western governments and their draconian laws to prevent you from doing it. It's okay for the Jews and so forth to leave the United States to go to Israel to fight our brothers in Palestine. But you can't leave the same area. You got your Jewish friend who you know in school. You and him talk about this. But then you had a spat. He says, I'm leaving to go join my government there, my Jewish brothers in Jerusalem. You turn around and say, I want to go and join my Palestinian brothers. He's not going to get arrested. You will. This is what we're talking about here, brothers and sisters, okay? This is what we're talking about. You have to be even cognizant of that, because even if you make it back from that, most likely the authorities in the United States will be waiting for you, and they will get you for a variety of different federal crimes, and you're going to go to jail for many years. But your Jewish friend who you fell out with won't have such difficulties. This is how draconian it is in the United States. It's not right, but that's just the way it is because they are in power. This is what we talk about. And we have to be mindful of that, brothers and sisters, before you undertake something. Because even if you come back alive, what's going to happen when you come back into LA? They probably will have you already in a watch list. The minute you come in, boom, they're going to get you. Because what if your passport is expired? There's a lot of issues here that we have to look at. This is why I'm talking about it today, brothers and sisters, because it's serious. The first thing I'm going to tell you about, because I'm giving you the fundamentals and the basics. You need an approval of a head of state, a sultan, imam, or his representatives, a Muslim head of state, according to the Sharia Allah, Ta'ala. Okay? Now, you can't get this from President Biden or some ex-president Trump or President Obama. You can't get this approved. They're not Muslims. They're not guiding a Muslim state. They're not, according to the Sharia Allah, they're not Muslim rulers. They're not a sultan. They're not an imam of a country. They're not. You can't get that. Here you are sitting in the United States. What do? Okay, how do you get this approval to go? It's very tenuous. What if the people there in the United States, which I heard some did this, gave fatwas authorizing certain people, I guess under the table, to go to fight? And they were wrong for doing it. They were wrong for doing it. Second, with the approval of the head of state, the Muslims head of state, according to the Sharia Allah, those Muslims in the West must take considerations of host countries' laws against it. I can't stress this, brothers and sisters, more. You're sitting in the United States. You take a step, and one bad step can land you in a federal prison for 20, 30, or even maybe even life accordingly, 10 years. It just depends. And you have to be very careful of this. Okay, we'll get into some other things I'm going to hear. Just be patient. Sabr, brothers and sisters, sabr, we say in Arabic. And this here is a critical issue. If you want jihad and you want to leave out of this place, you want to leave LA to come over, you need to have some approval in this regard from their representatives. Meaning, if you want to go fight for somebody, you have to have somebody who has authority to give you this approval. If you don't have it, brothers and sisters, this is not really a jihad. It's not. Because we have rules to it, brothers and sisters, we have to abide by. And the draconian laws of the West will get you. You are trapped. You in a bad situation. Even if you got approval from some head of state or from some religious body, Ulema, fuqaha, in a country that you want to go to help and aid. Okay? Muslim. What about the United States? The United States says their laws take precedence over the Sharia Allah Ta'ala. They say their laws precede the laws of Allah and the Sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ. So even if you're honoring that, they don't honor that. So you will be arrested for violating their laws because they say that the laws that you want to adhere to are criminal. This is what we're talking about, brothers and sisters. We are honest today talking about this. We need to talk about this because this is very, very critical. Because I'm tired of hearing about our brothers leaving from the Western states in particular, going into far lands and being killed and slaughtered. And they didn't know what the hell they were doing. I know in their heart, they want to fulfill this obligation, but they died for it without knowing what happened. Or we have brothers who are in jail now. Or we have brothers who can't make their entry back inside the United States and living in bad conditions because our government, our American government, has turned their back on them because they went for jihad. These are things you have to take into consideration, brothers and sisters. Please, please be mindful of that before you make such a thing. You should talk to religious scholars and students of knowledge, trustworthy to get information. We understand you see what's happening in Palestine. I understand that. We see what's happening in other parts. You want to fulfill something. You want to go and fight with your Muslim brothers, but you got to be mindful of the many laws. And you have to be mindful of what these conditions are before you undertake that. Because if not, you can get killed for it or you get landed in jail, especially in the United States. And I'll go into just one more point about this too, brothers and sisters. The same Muslim countries that you enter to go help, many of them will arrest you and return you back to that American or that Western government to be arrested and put in jail. We saw that happen with Turkey. Turkey did this. Some they let through, they played the game. They played half and half. They let some brothers go make their way into Syria. Others they arrested and returned back to Western states, which is a violation of the Sharia because a Muslim never turns his brother over to a disbeliever. Never. You know what Surah 44, Surah 4, verse 141, Subhanahu wa ta'ala says about that you don't turn your brother over to let the disbelievers put their way over a Muslim. You can't do that. See? So anyway, that's that. Now, jihad, that jihad enjoins you with your Muslim brothers in their natural homeland, like Morocco. Now, say there's a dispute, and say Morocco here, this beautiful country, Morocco. Say you see the Muslim brothers, and something's going down, and say they're going now, they want to go fight against disbelievers. This is all hypothetical. This is not happening. We just talk about hypotheticals. Now, you want to do that. You have to get this approval, and maybe somebody will issue the fuqaha ulema here, or maybe the ijtihad, I forgot what they call themselves now. We have a religious body, and I follow fatwas a lot because they're sound, and I go by their fatwas as well. And they may issue saying, hey, Muslims, if you can do it, if you know, and they'll give criteria to it, you come to Morocco and you go join your brothers to go fight. You're okay. But again, you have to look at the American government, the French government, the Spanish government, the English government, the German government. They don't recognize this. They don't recognize the Sharia Allah. They don't recognize the Sunnah of a prophet and his Sharia tool. They do not recognize that. His Sharia, that's what I mean in Arabic. And they don't recognize this. So therefore, you will pay a heavy penalty for that. But this is an example of what we're talking about here. Now, if you get approved from the Muslim state to join their jihad, this is permissible if this happens. Or their scholars or imams authorized to make such a decision under the Sultan. The Sultan may say, hey, I want brothers from different parts to come to help us in our fight against the disbelievers, because here they are, they're coming and they're taking oil from us or whatever the situation. So I want to go fight them. I want to go and defend our country against them. We don't want them invading us to take our resources. Okay, you see, hypothetical only. Now the Muslims sitting in California, Washington, D.C., say they're sitting there and they see this and say, hey, I want to go fight with my Muslim brothers. And then they are in contact with somebody and somebody gives them a decision. Again, hypothetical, give them a decision. Hey, yes, you can. You leave to come. This is permissible, brothers and sisters, if we live in a world where this is allowed. But we know we're not living in this type of world. We're only talking about generalizations. I want that understood, because there's no war that I know of. I live in Morocco 17 years. I don't know of any war that they're involved in where it deals with disbelievers. There's none happening. That's a fallacy. We're talking about generalizations. And I'm trying to help the brothers and sisters to make the right decisions so they don't get themselves in trouble, and they'll have lifelong pain and suffering from a decision they made in haste. Okay? And this is what I'm trying to avoid. Now, we've had the fitna here the last 3 months with the Russian and the Ukraine war. We have Muslims joining the force for that. Now, we're not talking about the Chechens there in Russia, because there's a certain situation there that's very tenuous. And they live in that region. And we know what the Ukrainians have done with the Muslims. If you read the stories, and even in modern times now, okay, and it's not good. So but they live in that region. With you, brother, who live in LA or Washington, D.C. or at the ATL, and you decide, hey, you know what, I want to go and do something. You're not to join a jihad for a non-Muslim country. You cannot do it. This is forbidden. And the proof here is Surah 5, verse 51. This is what I'm talking about, brothers and sisters. Before you do anything, you get hold of a student of knowledge or a scholar of some sort and ask him these questions, because it can save you a lot of anguish. And I've even heard now, we've had even Muslims from Africa leaving to go to Russia to fight with the Russians against the Ukrainians. And I asked the question, what are they enforcing? They're not enforcing Sharia Allah. They're enforcing democratic ways and means or communist ways and means. That's not approved for a Muslim. You're not even to govern under it. So why are you going to go fight for it? And you are already prohibited from it, because Surah 4, 141 stops you from that. You can't enforce the ways of a disbeliever on your brother or anybody else for that matter. You cannot. So what are you doing? This is what we're talking about. You cannot go to join that. So you brothers are sitting there in United States or in France, leave it alone. Just sit at your chair and look at it from TV. Look at your TV or your iPod or whatever, and let the disbelievers duke it out, because that's between them. This have nothing to do with you, because they're not enforcing the Sharia Allah. They have their disputes, and you don't even know the underlying currents behind that, and you're going to go fight for a disbeliever? No, you can't do it, brothers. You cannot do it. You got to stay out of that. You're going to go there and fight, and they have a dispute between two disbelievers. Now, we'll get into something, another area in this. That is not dealing with the Sharia law. You cannot do it. We are strictly forbidden to engage in such disputes between the disbelievers. We can't. We cannot do it, brothers and sisters. We just cannot. We have to stay out of it. It has nothing to do with us. And we must stay clear of it, because we are violating many things in the Sharia Allah Ta'ala. And just even that particular verse, 141, the Surah 4, 141 gives you that thing. If you look at the tafsir, especially from say Qutb and from Qurtubi, I mean, it's pretty poignant about how they talk about this. Stay away from their wars. You don't gain nothing from it. I don't care if they're paying you money. I heard they even give it, like Ukraine, I think Ukraine is giving citizenship or something for outsiders to come. We have Muslims flocking there to get the disbelievers' citizenship. And you're fighting for Ukraine, who has a dirty history against the Muslims. And we have Muslims flocking there. You see what I'm talking about, brothers and sisters? It's bad news. It's bad news. Here's the other part, because we as Muslims have to be concerned about this when we die in such conflicts. You die enforcing their laws. You die in disbelief. And you die not as a martyr. That's right, brothers. You go pick up arms and you go join the Russians, or you go join the Ukraine. You die in a circumstance. You're not a martyr. You have died in disbelief. Disbelief in this situation means not died as a kafir. I'm not meaning that where you don't believe in subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you disbelieved. You didn't look up the laws. You didn't look up the criteria for this. You just went on your own, and you disbelieved, because you should know the subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't. If you picked up the Quran, even in English, there's enough knowledge in there to tell you you can't do such a thing. But in likelihood, you go there. We've had Muslims killed. I know that we have African Muslims killed over there. I remember here 2 weeks ago, some were killed in some house. They dropped some bomb and killed these Muslims in some house in Ukraine. They're not martyrs. They're not martyrs, brothers and sisters. They're not martyrs. There are provisions under a true Islamic state that call for fighting in behalf of disbelievers. Now, this is the beauty of our religion. An example, this is Andalusia. Remember this in Andalus with the Moors from Morocco? And this whole area with the old boundary of Morocco. I should tell you this while we're talking about this. It's not what you see today. Morocco at one time, which means the West, covered from present-day Libya all the way through Mauritania and ports of Mali, all the way up across to some parts of, we know, Senegal today, and up through to present-day Morocco. If you look at a map, an African map, I don't have one here now. And this is the old Morocco. Now, they fought in behalf of disbelievers for a reason, okay? They had sound judgment to do this. This is a different situation. And when we have a sultan, he has a mithaq, a taswiya with a non-Muslim state, and say this Muslim state is attacked by another non-Muslim state. Our sultan might order us to go fight because of this treaty we have. We have mutual agreement, we have trade, we have so forth and so on. We have Muslims living among them who are teaching Islam. That this is authorized. You see, there's a difference, brothers and sisters. This is why we have to gain this knowledge. And we in the West, all of us are ignorant of many things. We just don't seek the knowledge. This is what we're talking about. We do have provisions. If you understand the Sharia Allah and the history, Andalusia is a prime example of that. We fought that. And I'll tell you another one too when I move on. Beavers had, and I told the story about this before. When the Muslims were under attack from the Mongols, okay, the Mongols, and they also had Christians who were aligned with the Mongols to wipe out the Muslims, and the Mongols were doing a pretty good job of it. And we have Beavers who became the Sultan. He now they have vanished the most of the Mongols now, but some of the Christians were still uppity in what they were doing. And so one Christian prince wanted to basically ravish virgin Muslim girls. So he began to go to rivers where the Muslims would go bathe and wash and all this kind of stuff, and he would pick up the girls and they would ravish them. And Beavers, on behalf also of some of the Christians who were involved in this, went there to fight. So those are the circumstances that you can do that. I'm giving that so you can understand that. Now, we're going to get to the last part, and I'll close in this because we have 10 parts of this, but I'm not going to get all of this today because I'll be here for all night. We cannot do that. And I know many of you are in the West, or look, you have you're working, it's a work day, and so forth and so on. But you can probably go over this another time and so forth because it's very important. Now, the other condition is the travel for livelihood and the conditions needed to safeguard the Muslim. Brothers and sisters, this is where we're in trouble a lot as well. We have Muslims traveling, again, everywhere, to work in a liquor store, to work in McDonald's, to work in the street, work in a stadium, a soccer stadium, or just to get any job, work in electronics, just so they can make money and have a worldly life. This is what one of the conditions here we talk about this, and this is one of the 10 conditions we talk about travel. And to travel for that, it should be noted, first of all, that traveling to and residing in non-Muslim countries is not permissible. Generally speaking, it is not permissible to do it unless conditions are met prior to travel, scholars say. Again, before you venture out, you should understand the conditions before you leave to go to France, or to leave to come to the United States, or to leave to go to Jamaica, or to leave to go to Calgary, Canada. You need to understand those conditions before you go, because it's important. If not, you may run into trouble. And if you die over there, you're not dying as a martyr. If you get hit by a car, you're not a martyr. And I don't want to be in my grave and having the two angels of death, especially I won't get into that, but I don't want to be questioned as to regard to my nia and why I ran over to Calgary, Canada, to go work on in the street for for a couple of dollars more than I can get here in Morocco. I don't want to be questioned for that. See, so this is what we have to be very cognizant of. The scholar says that the individual should feel that he will be safe in terms of his faith and religious commitment. Now, the Muslim, we are okay. Our religious bodies, Ulema Fuqaha, and we look at the proofs in the Bayana, we have conditions where Muslims can go and do certain things in Calgary. But those Muslims have to be, again, under certain guise of faith and religious commitment. Today, we have so many Muslims who are not practicing. They're Muslims in name. They decide to go to Calgary. They're not in terms of faith and religious commitment. They have none, meaning that they should have sufficient knowledge and faith to prevent him from deviating. We have this problem now. How many we've seen have went over to the United States? 4 years, 5 years, the brother comes back to Morocco. He is not the same. I saw that. Even he was weak, even in Morocco. He returned, he's far worse than when he left. This is what we're talking about here. This is important information for the brothers because without this type of situation, without what could I say? The rightful information, we can get ourselves in trouble. And we have to have sufficient knowledge. I keep harping about knowledge. We all must gain it, brothers and sisters, because if not, we can get ourselves in trouble. Going astray, deviating and going astray, returning to the Muslim state with compromised faith. How many? Especially sisters. Especially sisters. They've left the Gambia. They've left Senegal. They left Morocco. They left Egypt. They were pure as the driven snow when they were living in those states. They were good Muslims. No one had laid a hand on them. No one has ever dated them. Then they go over to the West, and many come back non-virgins. Many come back after having multitude of affairs. When they return back to Morocco or to Senegal or Gambia, you see them, they're totally, the light is gone. This is what we're talking about. Because the Western states are devastating to Iman of the Muslim. Bottom line. That's why Subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like it. That's why Prophet said we should have a campfire between us. And it's true. If he's going to go for a livelihood, this is what the scholars say. He should harbor in his heart resentment towards the disbelievers. Not meaning to hate them, not meaning that you go to beat them. You're there in their country. Not going there meaning you're going to rob them. No, they're not talking about that. But you should harbor a resentment for their ways, so that way you don't adopt it. And you should keep away from taking them as close friends and allies and loving them. Now, this is a problem in some areas I have, because I have brothers and sisters I was raised with since 5 years old in Compton, California. They're not Muslims, but they don't fight me for my faith either. But we'll indulge in this guy, get something about that. But as a general rule, I won't come if I was going to come back to the United States, which I will not. I don't want to go back. I have no reason to, because I'm in a Muslim state. We have fatwas in reference to that. We have conditions, and I'm in a Muslim state. I don't know what I would do now, 17 years, going back to a disbelieving Kafir country, which is dar hard. I will get in trouble for it. I know better. And yes, I have brothers and sisters, relatives, even children in the States. But Islam is the priority and first. I don't know what I would do if I can't listen to the van every day. I don't know what I do when I step out. I don't smell the fresh leavened bread that we have baking. I don't know what I would do if I can't smell that. I don't know what I do. I'm walking to the masjid, making dhikr Allah, going to the masjid. I can't do that in the United States. I don't know what I would do that. I don't know what I would do if I can't emulate the Prophet ﷺ, walking from my house, going out and giving salam to the brothers who are going to the masjid, or the brothers I see out in the street. I don't know what I do. I can't do that. So why? I want to go among the disbelievers. I'm among the brothers here. And plus, this is my homeland. Morocco is part of my homeland. So I don't know what I would do. I'm just saying that because this is how I feel. And also I'm backed up by proof bayana. So here we got to be very careful. You must have this resentment of some sort, and taking them as friends, believers, loving them in time, leading to disassociation with mu'mineen. You said, what do you mean by this? We've had brothers who left. They got jobs in California. Okay, they work at university. They don't run into Muslims. They spend all day long among disbelievers. When it's time to break off, the disbelievers say, hey, Yahya, let's go over to McDonald's. Let's go over here to Jack in the Box. Let's go in here to Domino's Pizza. You go there, eat with them. You spend all your time with them. The only time you spend time with the Muslims when you see them is at the masjid. This is going to have a devastating effect on your iman. And we've seen this. And they're weakened. They start to weaken and weaken to the point where they start to disassociate with other Muslims. They start to look at other Muslims in a bad way. This is what we talk about here, brothers and sisters. Scholars report that Muslims develop close bonds with disbelievers and saw Muslims occasionally in the masjid. After that, he returned to the associating disbelievers. We've seen this, as I talked about. It's a serious problem. And this is what happens when you do go for the livelihood in the Western states. You have a tendency not to be around other Muslims. I've seen Muslims come back here to Morocco. I even look at them and I question if they're Muslims anymore. They don't act like Muslims anymore. They don't dress like Muslims. Their attitudes are not like Islamic. You be surprised, and you trying to figure it out, and this happens. We see this time and time again, especially the sisters. It's more telling with them as well. It's very, very bad. And I scratched my head looking. I said, what happened to sister? I saw her 5 years ago. She was this, this, this. Now look at her. I've seen this. This is why I'm talking about this today. Taking up their ways and means in dating and fraternization in Western style. We've had this. Prime example what I'm talking about. Business dates. Brothers, we've had this. We have brothers, brilliant brothers in mathematics and other sciences. They go to a job where they're making 5 times as much that they can in Morocco. They go to Los Angeles. And they have, people go and you have a prospective buyer and you make a date. She's a woman. She's a broker. You see what I'm talking about? Now you compromise the Sharia. You begin to go on these dates. And maybe one of these brokers is a beautiful, beautiful woman who does not share the Sharia, so she's not protecting her ornaments. See what I'm talking about? We've had this. And we have brothers then who have become weak. Their wives are back in Morocco or they're back in Europe, and you're a man, things happen. In seductive inclines with alluring music and atmosphere. Excuse me, my brothers and sisters, we have the adhan going on. Another 20 minutes or so, we'll have the prayer. So excuse me for 1 minute here. Okay. Now, we have to be very careful of that, brothers and sisters. Please be careful of this. Taking up their ways and means in dating and fraternization is against the Sharia. And this is killing the Muslims. And we know that we have brothers that come back. We have brothers who are over there in tears because they know what's happened to them. And they've fallen victim to this same situation here. Please be mindful. Because we're all human beings. Always say that. And we're subject to make sin. And remember what the Prophet ﷺ talked about. When you're alone with another woman, I don't care if she's a Muslim, she's not your wife, she's not your wife, or your sister, your mother. And you sit in a room. The Prophet ﷺ said, what is a third person in there? It's the devil. And he's going to make something go on between you. Be very mindful of that, brothers and sisters. He should be able to practice his religion open. This is one of the conditions about the livelihood. If he's going to California or to Texas or someplace, he should be able to practice his religion openly in terms of prayer and other things. Now, we're going to get into an issue here. In America, strong Muslims will be followed and aggressively interdicted. They don't let us come there. As a general rule, the strong Muslims are not allowed to come. They don't get the visas. And most strong Muslims don't want to go there anyway for the things I just talked about. Because the strong Muslim is geared by his salat and by Islamic culture and rules and laws. And it's a detriment for him if he wakes up, he can't hear the adhan. See? Or he cannot smell the leavened bread. Or he can't see the brothers and sisters walking on the street. He can't see the Islamic culture. He can't give salam to brothers and sisters. See? And we have etiquette here as well. With women and with men, older brothers and sisters, even with the young, we have etiquette. That's all thrown by the wayside in the United States, in the Western countries. So this is something here that we have to be very, very, very mindful of. And they may allow, there's conditions to this. I will tell you this because we know this because brothers have talked about this openly in lawsuits. They allowed strong Muslims to come over to the country because they've been watching traffic between Muslims, see, American Muslim and a Muslim from one of the 57 states. So they let him come with a visa into the country. They let him take residence, so that way he can watch. They can watch him to ferret out, quote unquote, under the rock terrorists, American Muslim criminals, and their plots against the state. They may let this happen, or they may say anyway that you are this, and you can end up in jail, even though you are not this. You have no part of that. You came to California to work. You didn't come there to plot against the United States. But because of the way things are going against Muslims, they can conjure up everything. How many innocent Muslims are sitting in jail on terrorism charges, huh? Yeah, just because you're association, and you know that. So we have to be very careful that, brothers and sisters, especially in the masjid, be very mindful that if you get somebody come to you inside the masjid and he proposed to be a strong Muslim, you be mindful of him when he asks you. He may be taping you. Be careful of that. Because how many brothers are sitting in jail over a conversation they had in the masjid in the United States? How many? Be very careful. Very careful. As we talked about, sometimes it is permissible in certain circumstances, as I talked, Islamic school, madrasa, or you're going to go teach Islamic studies at a university or something, even though it's not a madrasa, but you can still teach because you're teaching and honoring and promoting subhanahu wa ta'ala, his Sharia and his Sunnah and the Sunnah of our Prophet, alayhi wasalam, right? This is no problem. We talked about that, and you can there's certain things that is encouraged, and sometimes it's haram, like we talked about, and I gave you conditions about haram. Now here we get to the famous sheikh who's passed on, rahim Allah, and he had a strong take on this, and I agree with his edict. And also a fatwa, which I don't have. I wish it was in Arabic to read it off to you. I read it, and it was pretty stinging. Okay, indictment against the American culture and ways and means. But anyway, he covered some of these issues here. And before his death, he issued a stinging fatwa, which I have it. It's stinging, and any Muslim who should read it, because it has a lot of guidance, and I concur with it 100%. Because the American culture, as we know today, the Western culture, is a detriment to Islam. It's a total antithesis to us. Total. We have nothing mainly in common, none, and it will destroy your iman. And you have to be very, very careful in asking what you wish for. Be careful, brothers and sisters. Please be careful. He was so devastated, and many of the other scholars, too, especially the older scholars, they were devastated to see the youth return from America. I mean, I remember, I don't want to mention his name, African American who was in the Muslim world for many years, very, 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 very talented, very knowledgeable. He was talking about what happened when he went to Saudi Arabia. He saw these guys who had came back. One was in Oregon, a couple was in Texas, many were in California. And what they had on, they had now changed their haircut like the young punks do out there in the United States. This is like Mohawk thing, which is forbidden. And even some had tried to remove their dinar salat because they were strong Muslims at that time, or practicing Muslims in Saudi Arabia, and they had a dinar salat, a little thing on the head that happens sometimes to people who make prayer a lot. They were trying to remove that. Some had even dyed it to remove it. Some had put a Band-Aid to cover it. Because what happened to them in America? America changed them completely. He saw that. This is when he said, now we got to talk about this. He said, with regard to residing in the lands of disbelievers, it poses a great danger to the Muslim religious commitment, morals, conduct, and etiquette. This is what Sheikh Amin had to say about this issue. And he's well knowledgeable for this. And he's correct in what he said. We and others, he's talking about the fuqaha ulema, many across the Muslim world have seen immense deviation on part of those who have lived in these countries. He's talking what we talk about now. This is not just me talking. We're talking about what he said, we and others, because they've seen the devastation, what has happened, especially to our young Muslims from the age 40 and under. Devastating, devastating. They are no longer the same. They're not Yahya anymore when they return back from the United States to come back to Saudi Arabia or to Morocco or to Tunis. They're not the same anymore. Then they return different from what they saw. They have come back as evildoers. How many we've seen this? Now they're out stealing, robbing, and so forth and so on. They're out fornicating. They're doing other things. They are insincere. Many of them have stopped even to pray. Many of them don't consider themselves, they say they're Muslim, but they're not. Some of them have come back having apostatized from their religion. This is what the Sheikh Islam, Rahim Allah, had to say, why he was so hurt and devastated by this. And most of the victims came from the United States. It hurt him tremendously. And other famous older scholars saw this, and they were so dismayed by it, that the American culture and its evilness and what it does to the Muslim psyche, it's devastating, brothers and sisters. This is why I'm talking about it. Many of them got to the point where they disbelieving in nothing. They became Zindiq. They don't believe in anything anymore. They don't even believe that there's Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. They don't believe in anything. They only believe in what they see in front of them. And if they die today, that's it. They don't know. They think it's no more. It's not a heaven or a hell. They don't believe that. Many of them are this way. They've been turned around. And so he says, we seek refuge with Allah. Some of them reject religion entirely, mock the faith and its people. We've had them come back and they make fun, and they made fun against Muslims, other Muslims. Even some talked against the Prophet ﷺ as well. And this is unacceptable conduct on the part of a Muslim to do this. Both the early and later generations were criticized by many of these who came back to Morocco, came back to Mauritania, came back to the Gambia, came back to Nigeria or other places. Hence, it is essential, rather it be a must to guard against that, to set some conditions and guidelines, because that's why they talked about that, what I'm talking about today. They want to set strict conditions to stop this, because they cared. They care about the Muslims, and they were devastated to see what has happened to our Muslims between the ages of 40 and under. What happened to when they went, especially to the United States. Devastating. Which would protect one from ruin and destruction. We have to do something about that. The essential conditions that must be met before residing in a non-Muslim country, scholars contend, possess sufficient knowledge and faith of religion. We said that already. We talked about that. He says, strong resolve to guarantee that he will remain steadfast in his religion. How can we do this? We've had strong Muslims we know. I saw. I'm thinking one person, I can't give his name. In particular, since I've been here, in particular, and how he was when he came back, I was shocked. I was shocked. And so how do we guarantee that? We can't. Because something happens even to the strongest Muslims when they go into the West. Something happens to them. Now, I'm not saying all, but we have this. And many of them are just not the same. And they go astray. And we've seen this. And again, harbor that resentment, the Sheikh says. We have to harbor that resentment towards disbelievers. And we have to, and don't fall prey. Remember the Surah 5, verse 51. We have to be very, very cognizant of that. Because this, you don't want to be accused of that. Because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, if you are among them and you act the way what they do, and you took them as friends and protectors, you are among them. That's a stinging rebuke. So you don't want to fall prey to that. So be very mindful of that, brothers and sisters. Now, I brought this fact up because I want balance so you understand this. But keep in mind, you brothers and sisters who decide to leave Muslim states to go into California or any Western states, anywhere, 60, Surah 60 and verse 8, I talked about this many times. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you deal kindly with disbelievers who deal kindly with you. This is part of this balance in this. Resentment, yes, you do not like what they believe. You don't like the way, their ways and means and so forth. But they're kind to you. Meaning, if they come to your work, they speak to you, hey, how you doing? Yeah, you speak back. If he maybe you were sick one day, he took your load that you have to do at work, and he completed it for you. He called you up and said, hey, I did it for you, and so forth. You thank him. There's nothing wrong with that. You be kind to those who are kind to you. This is part of the balance in Islam. Doesn't mean that you have to be adverse to them, meaning that you have to mistreat them. No, because there's many disbelievers who are kind. They may not believe, but they're kind to you, so you reciprocate their kindness. This is what Subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about in Surah 60, verse 8. Okay, you can be this way. So we have balance in Islam. Yes, we have resentment towards what they do, but when they're kind to you, you drop your groceries out there in the parking lot, and some young man comes and he helps you. You know, and you thank him for it. There's nothing wrong with that. Or you go help some old woman. You don't go ask her first, hey, what's your madhab? Are you a Muslim? No, you go to help the lady because you saw she was in trouble. This is the balance we have in Islam. I'm close to closing here, brothers and sisters. I'm long today. And this here, Surah 58:22, is pointing. And this is why we have to be very careful, brothers and sisters, about this, even with our fathers, sons, brothers, and kindred. We have to be very careful of this. And we have to be mindful of that. You take a good look of that, because this is important. This is a very interesting surah talking about this issue. We have to be very careful on our relationships, because we do have some family who will fight you for your faith, have fought you for your faith. We have to be very careful with that. And you got to be mindful. And it's a hurtful thing when you have loved ones, bloodline, who fight you for your faith, and so forth and so on, and who want to turn you out from your religion. Be careful, brothers and sisters. And even though they're family, their mother and father, moms and pops, you got to deal kindly with them and be just. Even if they try to fight you for your faith, you still must be respectful of them. You don't honor what they do, but you still must be respectful because they're parents. Be mindful of that, and your uncles and so forth, and grandmothers and so forth. You got to be very careful of that. Even if they disagree with you and they argue with you, you still be polite with them, because they're still your mother and father, and that's still your grandmother. Be careful of that. Lastly, the Muslim can enjoy his prayers without restrictions, meaning if he's in a Muslim country, he's in his livelihood. He can go without restrictions. He can have the prayer with the brothers and the disclosed. And in the United States, you can pray. No one's going to stop you from prayer, which is ironic, because the same disbelievers from the United States come to Muslim countries. They begin to try to restrict Muslims from certain masjids, like they tried to do with me many times. It's funny. In the United States, they can't do that. They can't go to anybody who's going to the masjid and stop you. They can't. But they come here to Morocco or to other places, and they try to stop strong Muslims from going to the masjid. It's funny, honey. It's crooked, but that's just the way it is, because they can't do that in the United States. But they come to the Muslim states and they try to do that. And this is why I said it's kind of funny and dangerous in what they do. Okay, we're close here to the end here. But if he restricted and learns that his job doesn't support his prayers, security forces interdiction of Muslims without right and their masjids, all of this stuff here, you can't pray, in your job. They won't let you pray. You have to combine 4 prayers, say, when you get home, or they just are not receptive to your worship. You can't go there. You can't. You must turn that job down. You must leave that country and get away from there. And especially when the security forces are introduction of Muslims, where they arrest the Muslims coming out of the masjid or going to the masjid, they run your license plate to run to see if you got warrants, and then they're coming to get you. And you got to be very careful of that. Or they go to the masjid and they try to find something wrong with the masjid so they can go after the Muslims in it. And we know this happens a lot still in the United States. The Muslim or Muslim is prohibited from traveling to said non-Muslim states who do this, prohibited from residing there. You can't. If you're going to be impeded on your worship, you should not go. The ironic thing about the United States is no one's going to stop you. If you want to worship, and even the brothers want to go to a park to worship, they can give even a kippah in certain parks. No one's going to stop you, per se, from doing that. It's the other things that they do is what they get you to compensate for letting you do this. They put you on watch lists. They put you on different things like this. They hamper your travel. You know what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about, why the Western states are off limits, as far as I'm concerned, for the Muslims to go there unless it's specific for, again, if you have a job, you're going to be teaching madrasa, okay, or medical. We'll get to that later on the next episode, inshallah, where you have medical. The Muslim states are not up to speed in many surgeries and so forth. So a Muslim may have to go to France or Texas or California to have a surgery that can't be performed in Muslim states. You see, this is okay to save your life. This is no problem in that. And this we're talking about this situation like this. But the other situations are prohibited as far as your prayer. But that Muslim who's there, he's sick. He has to have a heart surgery. And the only specialists are there in California who can assist him because he has a certain condition in the brain that maybe he can only get the surgery in France or in Germany. He has to go there to save his life. There's nothing wrong with that, irrespective of what they're doing about prayer or not. We're not talking about that situation because he's there to save his life. And so that's it, my brothers and sisters. This is a long course today, but I think it was well worth for all of us to learn. I learned something. I picked up something I was reading, and I began to go through the intentions. And it's very interesting to get deep into this because we have many Muslims don't understand this or even give thought to it. So now they have it. So this is a good course for us, for all of us to learn from, because we all should have refresher. I don't care. There's not, as my teacher told me in Ghana, there's always somebody who know more. He made a point to let me know all the time. You should always gain the knowledge, but you always be cognizant that you cannot know everything because there's somebody out there that know more. And he was right when he said that. So just be mindful of that, brothers and sisters, you know, and I gave you this today, and I've learned from it, and I'm hoping that you do the same thing. Brothers and sisters, if you like this program, please subscribe. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, and everything. There's a lot of different courses in there that I have. If you like it, subscribe. If it's not your cup of tea, I understand. No harm to you. I try to present it the best way I can. I can be very fiery because this is the way I am. And I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to talk, and I'm going to give you what I think and what the proof is. So with that, brothers and sisters, those who will show up maybe in the future and so forth and so on. And those, you get this, spread it. If you disagree, please give me, send me a letter. If you like it, please subscribe, hit that like button, and let me know. And I greatly appreciate that very much. I really do, brothers and sisters who are supporting me. I wish I can go and shake your hand and give you a hug and whatnot. It's greatly, greatly appreciated on your part. And Jazakallah khairan and barakallah feek. I really appreciate that, brothers and sisters who are supporting me. I really do. It means a lot to me. So with that, brothers and sisters, until the next course, we'll get more into this. We have 6 more to go. And then, then that'll be it for this segment. So I'll let you go, brothers and sisters, with the beautiful words of Jinnah. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.